Okay, we'll see how this works. Playing the guitar really before you've got the hang of chords and really sort of knowing your way around things. It can be useful just to use the open strings and a few simple harmonies to get what are not full chords but just two-note chords. So now I'm plucking there with two fingers, well, finger and thumb, two strings, two middle strings, and I'm placing one finger on the second fret of the third string. That's a note A, string is G. The first string in British parlance is the thin one, the high string, and the sixth string or bottom string is the bass E. A lot of American videos call this the top string. It's actually rarely called that in Britain, but you'll find online American players referring to this as the top string, when of course we call the high string the top string, just to be awkward. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 string order, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 the initial frets you're most likely to have to deal with. I think the point about this is just to get moving very, very quickly. Take the second fret on the third, fourth and fifth strings and the open string below it, and there you will actually get a good harmony straight away and a set of simple chords which can be used for many songs. There's only two strings at once, but you wouldn't sit down on a piano and play 10 notes just because you've got 10 fingers. And on the guitar you certainly don't need to play all 6 strings together just because there are 6. Very often the most that you need is going to be 3 or 4 strings for any one strum or chord. And good guitarists will generally lay off or damp or just ignore some of the strings, or even just let them ring even if they're not part of the chord. Now that's a sort of very British technique. Oasis, for example, constantly let high strings ring over a chord occupying the rest of the guitar. But so you take a page. I'm only using one finger. See how that works. Now I'm playing what sounds like an E minor chord, but what's really happening is that this finger, which is just playing the second fret on the 5th string, that finger is actually being allowed to touch the 4th string and damp it or deaden it. Now that would normally in an E minor chord be played. You'd have that, but if I'm only using one finger just to start off with, you can hear it there, strings ringing out. Then I'm just allowing the finger to touch it, dampening it. Another important thing when playing guitar is to remember that while you do have to hold the strings down firmly to get a clean note, rhythm and duration of notes can be determined by just relaxing your grip very slightly, which is something that beginners don't do. They usually hold the strings down like a rock, so you get, instead of, you'll see that I'm pressing and releasing. So, which is caused by this hand pressing and releasing, nothing to do with this hand. So, instead of, and that's what gives all kinds of music from reggae, funk, whatever, their rhythms. You see what my left hand is doing. It's damping strings and it's putting the tension on and releasing it. And I think right from the start of learning to play guitar, you should be aware of the role that this, see there, I'm letting one string ring and one is shortened instead of. It also helps you play. It relaxes the hand, it helps you keep the rhythm because you're actually keeping a rhythm up with this hand as well as with this hand, and generally it stops you getting sort of a rigid rigor mortis in your fretting hand. So many musicians just develop this after years of playing, but it's a good idea to try to learn it right from the start. Any other general things? Let's say just with the single finger, you've got your G chord, which is one finger on the top string, on the high E. It also uses two down the bottom there, but sometimes to begin with, that's a difficult stretch. So if you keep to your top four to start off with, like playing a ukulele, then you've still got an alternating bass. Can't do much to damp that. Then you get a few other chords which don't use very many strings either, like the E minor chord down here, which only uses two. But just keeping, say, a D chord uses three strings, 2, 3, 2. That's on string 1, 2, string 2, 3, string 3, 2. But it can be really nice to play that and leave a couple of fingers free. That comes later on, and that means leaving the top string ringing out. Now, as it happens, that really doesn't sound bad. It can sound really good. Making a G shape there and doing the same. Play a C now, but leave the D in place. G with the E in place. D with the E in place. That's obviously a little bit more complicated because I'm finger picking, but it still works with chords, as Oasis and many other bands will tell you. And here it may pay just to avoid hitting the bottom string entirely. Again, when you're playing guitar, you do not need to always strum the full set of 6 strings. It's really important to remember that if you center any strum on what you're really playing, that's a C, F, C, G. So I'm trying to hit the strum on the root note of the chord. I can do that also using virtually no other strings and nothing apart from one finger. It doesn't sound particularly good, but that G chord with just one string there, because these three here are all open G. So and I can do that. Again, that's getting a bit beyond this, but the point I'm trying to get at is that you can, with even just one finger, start making coherent accompaniments. So I was thinking about something, and I've almost forgotten it now. Okay, almost there. Second string on the G, second string on the A, second string on the A, then to the D. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. That's really just using one finger. Starting on there, on a B, played on the A string with open strings here for a G chord. Then an A played on the G string there for an A chord, and then an E then, hang on. Myself what I'm doing, because I wouldn't normally play like that, but it makes the point that you can do this. Missing a minor chord. That three-chord set is common to so many songs, and it's a very simple way of approaching it, but it will just get you started. Started very quickly. Just for the fun of it. Anchoring fingers. Final thing, I talk about taking the pressure off and staying mobile, but I'm going to move this one down to my normal tuning, which is to drop this down to D, which guitar manuals generally do not teach you unless you're learning specific songs which involve this. I'm dropping that down to D. And I'm going to anchor a D up there to match it. There's an open D here. Then I'm going to use these two fingers in good British Baroque folk style. Very crude, sorry. see that's a bit rough. Just that you can, you know, get some pretty neat stuff with minimal effort. And it really depends on hanging on to that. And also by using open strings you can easily add a melody over what amounts to a kind of drone line. Very English folk baroque in basis, but also just useful, also useful in rock as well. Okay.